but that fact is not lost on anyone. Will this attack cast a shadow on the SCO meeting, and how should India respond to this attack? The last big attack that happened between India and Pakistan was Pulwama. That was in February of 2019. India retaliated with the Balakot airstrikes. Thereafter, after COVID, for the better part of the last year, year and a half almost, a ceasefire has existed between India and Pakistan. Is India now going to go back to the drawing board in response to what happened yesterday in Poonch?
बड़ी दर्दनाक घटना है, लेकिन अभी उन लोगों को मार तो गिराया जाएगा जल्द, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है। सेना और जो सुरक्षा बल हैं अपने अपने काम पर लगे हुए हैं।
क्यों भारत माँ के वीर सपूतों के ऊपर इस तरह के कायर लोग हमला कर देते हैं? मैं मांग करता हूँ कि सरकार जैश जैसे जो अपनी जिम्मेवारी ले रहा है इस हमले की, उसके ऊपर कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई की जाए।
Many of them are carrying this, printed placard saying Pakistan nursery of terrorism, and we're seeing others also raising slogans against militancy in Kashmir Valley.
Now, this is what intelligence sources are telling us about what happened on Thursday. We're learning that 5 terrorists were involved in this attack. 3 are suspected to be foreigners and 2 locals from Jammu and Kashmir. It looks like a properly planned attack with the motive of creating some kind of a sensation ahead of the G20 meeting that's due to happen in Srinagar sometime latter half of next month. The terrorists are believed to be have been sitting in the jungles of Rajouri and Poonch for some time, biding their time before the actual ambush took place. Earlier, a residential property was attacked in Rajouri. It is suspected that the same terrorists were behind that attack as well. We're also learning that terrorist groups are changing their tactics in Jammu and Kashmir. They are no longer focusing on urban areas and instead are targeting jungles. The terrorists are being trained to maintain minimal contact with the outside world. So after the attack, they retreat into these remote and dense jungles. This phenomena can be attributed to the shrinking size of overground workers or OGWs. And also, the terrorists are aware that forces will find it difficult to navigate these forested areas. Of course, it's not the first time that Pakistan has targeted the Indian Army. This time in Poonch, a Lashkar offshoot, the People's Anti-Fascist Front, or the PAFF, has claimed responsibility for targeting the army truck and killing 5 soldiers. In April of last year in Sunjwan, 1 ASI was killed in a pre-dawn attack. The Jaish-e-Mohammed had claimed responsibility. In February of 2019, a CRPF convoy was attacked in Pulwama. 40 jawans were killed. The suicide bomber was a Jaish member. In Uri, in September 2016, Pakistan terrorists targeted an army camp and killed 18 soldiers. And in Pampore, in 2016, Lashkar terrorists opened fire on a CRPF bus, killing 8 jawans. All right, let me open this up to our political guests first, and then we'll also bring in our experts. R.P. Singh is BJP spokesperson. Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress Party, will be joined by Lieutenant General retired Sanjay Kulkarni, defense expert. Also, in a moment, we'll be joined by Kuldeep Khoda, former DGP, Jammu and Kashmir. And in some time, we'll also go across to Kamar Chima, a strategic and political analyst from Pakistan. R.P. Singh, let me start with you first. This is a dastardly attack, no doubt about it. This is the first major attack we've had in the last year, year and a half since the ceasefire came into being. The question is, how should and how may India retaliate? The one big complication, of course, is there is the SCO meeting that's coming up in Srinagar. Clearly, one of the intended aims of this attack was to disrupt that meeting. Should India respond in a way that that meeting is disrupted?
Well, Zaka, first my condolences to all the martyrs who gave their life for the country. Secondly, we all know that Pakistan supported terrorists, and now this new outfront by name of People's Anti-Fascist Front, something of offshoot of Lashkar-e-Taiba, has claimed that they have done this. Now, if you see the chronology, how it has been connected, is something like what happens in the northeast or now in Chhattisgarh.
All right, RP saying his frame has frozen. We'll try and fix that in a moment. Sujata Paul, the government is saying that, look, this is a terror attack. It is being taken seriously by the highest levels of government. But to say that, we should call off the SCO meeting or that we shouldn't allow the Pakistan foreign minister to come here, that will only play into the narrative of the terrorists whose very aim was to disrupt those meetings.
First of all, I pay my condolences to the families of those whose loved ones have lost their lives, who have given up their lives for our sake. But the fact is that in this dastardly and cowardly manner, if this terror attack has taken place, and what I know about this is that there is this huge stretch which goes into the international border, and this is where Pakistan is keeping the pot boiling and is ensuring that the entire region of the Pir Panjal area, Pir Panjal mountain range, is kept active. And this can't be done without the help of China. So if that is the case, then what is the problem in calling off the SCO meet? Of course, it might
But,
be
ma'am,
difficult,
that's
but
the
we've
whole
taken.
point, isn't it? That if you call
Yes.
off the SCO meet, it plays straight into the hands of Pakistan, straight into the hands of China. They have asked for this meeting to be called off because they can't brook the fact that it's happening in Kashmir. The aim of the terrorists
Zaka.
was also to disrupt that meeting. You're playing into their hands.
No, Zaka, initially you mentioned the G20. This is an opportunity for them to internationalize this issue. This is why they're doing this. And they have a problem with the programs which have been organized in the Jammu and Kashmir area. And that is why this is happening. And is it a mere coincidence that their foreign minister, who said such, audacious things about our
Okay.
prime minister in December, we are inviting him to come here. So
Okay,
last
so
point,
let
if
RP
they
Singh
come here,
respond.
just
I
one.
believe his audio has been fixed. Yeah,
All
RP
right.
Singh respond. Sujata Paul and the Congress are of the view that you should call off the SCO meeting.
Well, let the government of India take a call on this. It can't be debated on a TV channel, and it can't be discussed on the TV channel. Neither is a political tug of war between me and Sujata Paul or between us and the Congress Party. This issue of the diplomacy and the foreign policy of the country. But yes, the attack which has been planned, there's no doubt that Pakistan is behind the attack, and government of India will take the call. And also, our army is free to revert the manner which they want to revert it. Earlier they have done it. Even now, they are free to revert and give the proper rebuttal to and proper answer to the attack.
Okay.
But as far diplomacy goes, let's wait for some more time and let the foreign ministry and government of India come out with a clear stand on this. Let's not haste on this issue, because the diplomacy and the foreign relation and the SCO is a different perspective. And this attack, although it hampers the interest of the country also, but still, it's little too early to discuss that. Let's first try to find out the details of who all are involved in this attack.
Let me go across to General Kulkarni as somebody who's served there in Kashmir. One of the things that's happened over the last almost a year and a half now is the ceasefire has held pretty steady. This is the first major attack that we're seeing in the last 18 months or so. And it's coming at a critical time. You have the SCO foreign ministers meeting that's coming up in the first week of May. You have this big G20 meeting that's coming up in Srinagar in the last week of May. How should India respond? Because it seems to be closeted by these two events. And is the ceasefire itself now under strain?
Zaka, at the very outset, extremely sad. An event like this should not have happened. But now that Pakistan intends to do as an enemy and unfortunately again as a neighbor, there's nothing that we must condemn it. There is no denying the fact. If at all they intend to bring it to the notice of the world that it isn't a safe place, we must go ahead with the G20 event in Srinagar. We must go ahead with the SCO and expose Pakistan to these kind of nefarious activities that they're deeply indulging in. I think it's time we called, it's no use being very, very diplomatic and be guarded. If there is something wrong with the enemy is doing, we must give it back. Having said that, let us also ensure that these kind of incidents don't occur whatsoever, wherever it is, because we have to be vigilant that there is no denying the fact that the Pakistanis trained terrorists, Pakistan has it. There is nothing that, if the government has decided, if the army over there has decided that they intend to bleed India with 1,000 cuts, that's it. They are our enemy. So how are we to treat them? If not unnecessarily wanting to be diplomatic and guarded and saying, no, they are our neighbors, let's be friends. Of course, who's denying it? But if they indulge in it, give it back to them in the same coin. But calling off events in Srinagar, calling off events in SCO, definitely no. We must, if they intend to say that it isn't a safe place, we intend to show it's absolutely safe and that Pakistan is using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. How else would, after all, Rajouri and Poonch are neighboring districts to the LOC. And if ceasefire is holding good, I think they're being used. The ceasefire is holding good, and they're pushing in infiltrators to commit this kind of incident. And well, bad weather over there at this point of time. There is an OGW. There's no denying the fact that there are some overground workers in league with them. If this kind of a situation has been there for years on, we have to ensure that these kind of incidents don't occur and expose Pakistan under all circumstances.
So let me ask Kuldeep Khoda, who is the former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir. One of the things, and we've seen this, I think the Dangri attack happened just a few months ago. We had an attack again in October of 2021, if I'm not mistaken, around this same area. And, it seems to be now almost like a modus operandi where terrorists who are operating from the other side of the LOC, who are coming in and who are attacking, either Indian Army personnel or other strategic interests, they seem to be moving away from urban areas and are moving into these areas that are close to densely forested sort of jungles. Yesterday's attack as well, they came in from the jungles. We believe the ambush had been laid for a while. They were in waiting for a while, come, attack the truck, and then disappear back again into the jungles. Is this now some kind of a modus operandi?
I think they have tested it in Dangri, as you rightly pointed out. In Dangri incident, we initially tried to project it as if it was probably some sort of internal attack, in the sense that a civilian was killed earlier. And after that, it gradually became clear that it is some part of their border action team from Pakistan. In it, because the Dangri terrorists could never be found. They had probably crossed from LOC, carried out the attack and went back also. Now, this looks like most likely to be a repeat of the similar incident. Now, Pakistan believes and practices terrorism, that's well known. It was earlier in Punjab also, and for J&K, it has been here now for last more than 3 decades. Now, the question remains that how do we respond to it? Well, first of all, look at our own internal mechanism. In this incident, they have been able to breach 3 lines of defense. The first line of defense is the LOC, they have been able to breach. The second is the area domination, which is the CI grid, which is in charge of the area domination. They have been able to breach that. And third is the ROP, the road opening party. They have been able to breach that also. Whenever there is any movement of the security forces, the road opening party is put there. Now, it's for some introspection from our side also. We can't, blaming Pakistan is very easy, and that we have been doing. They have to be paid back in a much bigger way than what the damage they are inflicting on us. That question still remains. Probably the action like Udi strikes or something more than that, that should be an adequate response. As far as calling off the SCO meeting is concerned, will be playing in their hands. That's what they exactly want. They want that meeting should be called off, and if we call it off, it will be exactly playing in their hands. That's my personal opinion. But as Mr. R.P. Singh pointed out, it's a diplomatic and a political decision finally.
So let me ask Kamar Chima this. The fact that on the day that Pakistan confirmed that Bilawal Bhutto, Pakistan's foreign minister, would be attending the SCO foreign ministers meeting in Goa in the first week of May. On that same day, such a big attack happens. No one is saying it's coincidental or anything, but the fact that it happens on the same day, it is not lost on anyone here in India. How do you expect India, on the one hand, in the aftermath of this terror attack, and what we are being told by way of intel sources is 3 of these terrorists who did the attack yesterday were foreigners and 2 were locals. How do you expect India to behave with Pakistan as though business is normal, business as usual, when there doesn't seem to be any end to these attacks that are being spawned and fomented, planned from the other side of the LOC?
Well, I think this is a very pertinent question that since Bilawal decided that he will visit India and this incident happens the same day, if history is any guide and if we find out that who is the beneficiary of such attacks, and if I go back to former governors, Mr. Malik's statement, he said that Prime Minister Modi and Ahmed Doval, they want to take advantage of all this situation, put an onus on Pakistan, take a political advantage in India, win the election. And so I think I personally understand that this is not something coming from Pakistan. This is something internally. This is Indian deep state's all game. First of
Mr.
all,
Chima,
okay,
I mean, that's a completely fanciful...
If there are, listen,
one second, Mr. Chima, give me 10 seconds, please. With due
respect. If there is a meeting in Indian occupied Kashmir,
with due respect, the meeting that's going to happen in Kashmir, the G20 meeting, is much after, I think a good 2 weeks after the next round of assembly election results will be out. So to suggest that this is some kind of insider job to try and manipulate an election result, I think it's just absolutely fanciful. I'm not using stronger language, but it's just absolutely fanciful. Secondly, what I'm more worried about is that in any case, India and Pakistan don't have a normal bilateral relationship. The fact that there are no high commissioners, there's no full-fledged missions in either country, there is no full-fledged trade relationship, that in itself should be worrying. But the fact is, how do you then expect India to have a normal relationship? Because from time to time we have these attacks, whether it was Pulwama in 2019, whether it is Poonch today. The fact is that these attacks are continuing. You cannot expect a normal relationship with a gun on the one hand and peace on the other.
Absolutely right. I think as far as Pakistan's position is concerned, we are not into any kind of actions in occupied Kashmir when it comes to no military actions, no supporting of the militancy there. We only support diplomatic, political, and morally to the Kashmir issue. But the panelists, the way they are speaking about Pakistan, how should we treat Pakistan? In which point we should respond, India? Let me tell you and be very clear. In case you make any mistake, we will respond to you that you will forget the past. In case India violates international law, in case India attacks, crosses international border, we will come India, we will attack you, and then you know what happened with Arvind and then. So
Chima Saab, I think there are far greater issues. No, one second, Chima Saab, one second, Chima Saab, with due respect, your country's economy is in such doldrums that I don't even know if you can put a functionally... No, one second. How does it not matter? If you don't have money, are you going to fight wars? Why don't you fix... Sir, why don't you first... Sir,
the wars are not fought by the money. The wars are fought with the passion.
Wars are fought with passion. Of course, the weapons are also manufactured with passion. Are they? Are weapons also manufactured with passion? Fighter jets, tanks, artillery, they're also made with passion.
We have a passion and we have a military
might. Let's not take this debate. Let's not take this debate into the realm of the comical. You've got far graver problems. You've got a dysfunctional economy. You've got a dysfunctional state. The structure of the state is the army is still calling the shots. It has oversized influence and oversized budgets allocated to it. All of these strategic recalculations you guys need to make. The last thing you want to be doing is to, warmonger with India. So let's leave that aside. I want to go back to RP Singh and...
We don't do this.
One second. Let me go back to RP Singh and to Sujata Paul. RP Singh, I think the call that needs to be taken forget about what Mr. Chima is saying, forget about what Pakistan is saying. The call that needs to be taken as far as India is concerned is, what is the long term, what is the 30,000 feet view to take? Yes, this is an absolutely dastardly attack. Let's make no mistake about it. And retribution needs to be sought. In what form or shape? That is, of course, for the military experts and the diplomatic experts to deal with. But let's be very, very clear about these things tonight. That there is a strategic deterrent or a strategic cost to pay for Pakistan if they try any kind of mischief. And definitely Poonch was a mischief. What that strategic cost will be, whether it will happen before the SCO, before the G20, we don't know. But there will be a cost to pay. That message we need to convey to Pakistan, R.P. Singh Saab.
Well, Zaka, I'm very much with you on this. I can't predict what measure and what style the army will or military will decide on it, or the foreign affairs diplomacy will decide on it. But yes, Pakistan must pay the cost for it. And Chima Saab, people with begging bowl don't talk about guns and don't do what you have done. I mean, they don't do all such activities. When you first go and manage your economy, sir, Chima Saab, please, Chima Saab.
No more threats for India.
Please. No threats,
Chima Saab. Let's one at a time. Thank you. Yeah.
You should always remind, when you interrupt a Sardar, you should always remind, I should remind you of Ali Singh Nalwa, and you should know why
I was formerly Sardar.
Sir, and why do Imran Khan used to wear Salwar Kameez? You should know that. And so before interrupting a Sardar, just keep that in mind. But keeping that aside, the issue is that if Pakistan need to run it hard way, it will. I mean, and then we will be on with our policy in Kashmir. We'll be on ensuring that whatever has to be done on the development part, that will be on. The electoral process will be on. But yes, if Pakistan doesn't understand the diplomacy or doesn't understand the ceasefire, and then in month of Ramzan they do this, and then just ahead of Eid they do this, then Allah bless them and God bless them. Army is free to do what they want to do.
Okay. Sujata Paul, I keep coming back to this point about, the last thing India should do is to fall into the trap that Pakistan has laid out or China has laid out or these terrorists were attempting to do, and that is to call off these meetings. India is now a big power. It's a $3 trillion economy. Pakistan is a, fledgling economy. It's struggling. It's in the doldrums, as it were. I mean, it's probably 250 billion maybe 300 billion or whatever it is. India's is a economy that's 10 times bigger. We need to act like that, like we are the big power. We need to act like we are the big power here in South Asia. And yes, these incidents will happen. There will be a hisab for this incident. Whether or not that will happen now or whether or not that will happen later, that's, like I said, for the experts to decide. But we are the big power.
We certainly are the big power, and it's not that we are a big power now. We've always been the most important country in the subcontinent, and Pakistan better remember that. And coming on our national television and threatening us shows what these people can do. Only shout and scream. But if you look at their country, look at the state that they are in. And what I'm trying to say is that as far as the G20 meetings are concerned, they should definitely go on, and they should happen in the Kashmir area. But when we talk about the SCO, it is the Shanghai Cooperation Limited organization. Sorry. So over there, if you look at all the countries which are part of it, most of them are dictatorial powers, and we are one of the few democracies which are part of it. And that is why I was saying that when the meeting in Goa is on the 5th of May, a strong message should be sent to Pakistan. And of course, our army is strong enough to show them their place. But this was a cowardly act. This was a dastardly act. And this is the best that Pakistan can do. They cannot face our army. And that is why they stoop down to this level. But they should remember that we know when and how to teach them a lesson. And our army will do it.
Okay, let me ask General Kulkarni. One of the questions that also needs to be asked is, after Pulwama particularly, the SOPs were revised. The fact that an army truck should not travel alone, it should be part of a convoy. These were all sort of reiterated after Pulwama happened. And yet, yesterday's incident does beg that question. Were SOPs followed? Was this struck a sitting duck for this kind of an attack? And in these densely forested areas, like I said, we had the Dangri attack just a few months ago. What are the lessons that have been learned? What are the new SOPs that have been put in place? Were those followed? Perhaps yesterday's attack could have been averted.
Dhaka, definitely. You know, there are certain introspection is definitely required. There's no denying the fact on that score. And SOPs have to be followed. Investigations will reveal as to who's at fault. Notwithstanding all that, we have to ensure that these kind of incidents don't occur. We would have had to have our eyes and ears. We need to ensure all the technology at our disposal, ensure ROPs, ensure the entire area is cleaned up before we move. Bad weather will be there. Obviously, Dhaka, understand, once your neighbor decides that they intend to do what they want to do, they will do what they are doing it. We have to ensure that these kind of incidents don't occur. And definitely, whenever anybody, for that matter, even if Kamar Chima is a good person, talking like this, I think it doesn't speak well of whoever it is, maybe. Do you think we are a soft state? Do you think that the Indian Army is going to take it right down for whatever Kamar to say about his country? He is welcome to say what it is. We will react. Everybody will react. And the cost will be there to pay. May not be today, will be tomorrow. But they have to pay. Obviously, once we have to prove as to what's happened, where the foreign terrorists have come, investigations will reveal everything. Yes, SOPs must be followed. SOPs cannot be violated because these people, with the help of the workers, are watching it for over a period of time and then doing what they have done. We ought to be careful. Vigilance 24/7 is a must. And obviously, Pakistan will do what it is doing. We have to ensure that we do not allow these kind of things happening in our country.
You know, Kamar Chima Sahab, you keep saying that, India uses Pakistan and the bilateral relationship for its own domestic political purposes and so on. I think yesterday or the day before, there was a submission by the Shahbaz Sharif government in the Pakistan Supreme Court which asked it some very pointed questions about why polls are not being held on time despite the directions from the Supreme Court. And they said the threat of war with India is very real and that's one of the reasons why the polls are being postponed. So who is using the bilateral relationship for political purposes? And again, I keep coming back to this. I mean, it's a fanciful idea to suggest that the reason why polls are not being held on time despite the Supreme Court's directions in your country is not because of threat of war with India. It's, threat of losing politically.
Well, I think, first of all, I think, in my understanding, I think India need to move forward from this idea that it's Pakistan which sponsoring terrorism in Indian-occupied Kashmir. Listen, we have paid the price of being in war against terrorism. We fought the war against terrorism. We have led thousands of lives, so we understand what is terrorism and how the nations get affected by it. So we really understand.
Okay, Chima Sahab, can I just give me 10 seconds. Can I ask you one question? I think for a good 2 or 3 years, Pakistan was first it was in the blacklist of the FATF and then it was in the grey list of the FATF. Why do you think that was? I mean, if you are, as you say, just victims of terrorism, you're not sponsoring terrorism anywhere else beyond your borders and so on and so forth, why do you believe you were part of the grey list for so long? Is the FATF a brainless organization?
No. This is the right question. But I think being part into the FATF, there were certain measures which Pakistan should have taken. For example, the sanctions that came from the UNSC, those sanctions should have been implemented properly. And the lacunas regarding the financial, the terrorism which was sponsored, and even the militants who were getting money from online sources, these loopholes should have been plugged properly.
So you do agree, Chima Sahab, that the United Nations Sanction Committee 1267, which sanctioned people like Masood Azhar and Hafiz Saeed, those were not implemented by the state of Pakistan. That's why you are in the FATF blacklist and then subsequently the grey list. You do agree on that?
Obviously, that was the reason. That was the reason Pakistan was, UNSC, Pakistan took it very, casually. Pakistan should have implemented it long ago. And we have paid the price for that, for this matter.
So who are these guys? I mean, this is what RP Singh Saab, he's sort of validating the point that I was trying to make. When Kamar Chima says, we don't sponsor terrorism and so on and so forth. this is exactly, he just said the reason why Pakistan was in the grey list was because they didn't implement the sanctions. You didn't implement the sanctions against Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar and other, people who were named by the 1267 Sanctions Committee of the United Nations. RP Singh.
No, good of accepting it. Give me Kamar Chima, give me another second. Good of you accepting that yes, you have been sponsoring or have been backing up the terror heads like Hafiz Saeed and Masood.
No. We have not been backing.
Sir,
the elements who were involved in Indian occupied Kashmir, they should have been dealt properly. It's not the state.
Please, sir.
Okay. Fine. You are not actively sponsoring, but you're not doing anything to, actively dissuade or actively go after these guys. That's why you are on the grey list. All right. RP Singh,
so,
finish.
Either way, they don't accept they're a state which can govern. I mean, it's a state which is governed by the constitution or by law. That's why they could act on them, or they are doing it intendingly. But that point aside, their prime minister is on record saying that we have more than 30,000 people in our backyard. What to do of them? I mean, Imran Khan is on record. So you have to pay the cost of if you have snakes in your backyard, whatever reason that be. But you have sponsored terrorism across the border in India, and ultimately, let me tell you, Kamar Chima Sahab, you will have to pay a very heavy price for this. Not only for this instance, but otherwise also.
No, nobody is threatening. No, 1 second. Kamar Chima Sahab, nobody is threatening.
You know what happened with evidence?
हिंदुस्तान में शिवा साहब सुन लीजिए, I've got to wrap up. 10 seconds. हिंदुस्तान में इसको फ्रेंडली एडवाइस कहते हैं, फ्रेंडली एडवाइस दे रहे हैं हम आपको प्यार से समझा रहे हैं, आप सुधर जाइए, नहीं तो आप ही को महंगा पड़ेगा. So let's leave it at that. शिवा साहब, let's leave it at that. Thank you RP Singh, thank you Sujata Paul and General Kulkarni for joining us. I want to move on from what's happening in the aftermath of the Poonch attack to what's happening on the battlefield for politics, the electoral battlefield as it were in Karnataka. It's well and truly underway now. Election officers have completed scrutinizing the nomination papers of all the candidates for the single-phase polls that will happen 10th of May. But the question is, who is going to have the edge in what is a very, very hotly contested state election?
People are looking at the Bharatiya Janata Party to be really different, have a very clear-cut clarity, strategy, so that people can look up much more confident in more better way. So the party took a decision to have new faces.
Correct.
In some of the
72 new faces.
Yeah, 72 new faces.
I ask you, as a citizen of India, Mr. Prime Minister Modi, wasn't Mr. Ishwarappa sacked as a minister because a BJP leader and worker Santosh Patel committed suicide?
All right, so after being denied a ticket to contest the Karnataka Assembly elections that are coming up soon, former Minister K.S. Ishwarappa, who had recently announced his political retirement, got a call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. Prime Minister Modi thanked Ishwarappa for accepting the party's decision and praised his loyalty. Ishwarappa is a 5-time MLA from Shivamogga and one of the most prominent Kuruba leaders that the BJP has. Ishwarappa wanted to run for a 6th term, but he was dropped from the BJP's list of candidates. Even his son, K.E. Kantesh, was denied a ticket from Shivamogga. But Ishwarappa assured Prime Minister Modi that he will campaign for the party's nominee from his constituency. All right, let me now go across to our guest. Ashok Gowda is BJP Karnataka spokesperson. Sanket Yanagi, KPCC spokesperson. Pratap Kanagal is JDS spokesperson. Ashok Gowda, let me start with you first. I believe that as many as 10 sitting MLAs of the BJP, 10 of them have switched over either to the Congress or the JDS. I believe in the history of Karnataka elections, this is a record. Are we to understand that the wind is going in one direction because 10 of them quitting your party, joining other opposition parties does not bode well for you?
See, let's understand. We have been following certain key principles in every state elections, and including in Karnataka. So it's not the first time that in Karnataka we have changed the sitting MLAs. We have changed it in the past also. And turncoats have always lost the elections, whether it was in early in 1960s or even in 1990s, or even today they will lose the elections. Many of them. In fact, our principle is very simple. We believe in karyakartas working for the party and working for the ideology. And we have 99.9% of the karyakartas who are dedicated to the philosophy and the principles of the party. Apparently, if there are 0.1%, like just say Jagdish Shettar, who actually, like, we were all confused. S.S. Shettar was not, his father S.S. Shettar was not the basically the RSS mayor of Hubli Dharwad, whereas he was staying in one of the in another person's house, where Sadanand Shettar was the mayor, whereas Shiv Shankar Shettar was only in his house. So this kind of a people can turn out to be the turncoats, but we are not.
But Mr. Gowda, whichever way you try to spin it, fact is a former chief minister from your party has quit after being associated with your party for 40 plus years, has quit because he's not got a ticket, and he, as he said in his press conference, not just not getting the ticket, but also not got an explanation for why he was not given the ticket, and joined the exact opposite party. Surely something he calls for introspection there.
He should introspect for himself. When he voted for Article 370, when he voted for Ram Janmabhoomi, when he voted for anti-conversion bill in the Karnataka Assembly and cow slaughter bill. So these are the principles what Jagdish Shettar should answer to himself, and whether he will agree for the Congress, the way it had split Lingayat and Veerashaivas. Whether he will agree in Karnataka Assembly, when he himself had voted, how will he
so let me ask Sanket Yanagi of the Congress to respond to that. Here is a man, I don't want to make this Jagdish Shettar specific, but whether it is Laxman Savadi, whether it is Jagdish Shettar, MP Kumaraswamy, a whole bunch of BJP folks have resigned and joined the Congress, or some of them have joined the JDS as well. I mean, these are people who believe in things like the Ram Mandir, the Uniform Civil Code. Those are not ideologies of your party. So are we to believe in Karnataka there are no ideologies? Haryana used to be the fiefdom of Ayaram, Gayaram. Now it seems like Karnataka is the new Ayaram, Gayaram.
See, these people who have quit the BJP are all staunch BJPians. Let us understand that fact. They all fought for the BJP. They developed BJP. They have seen the growth of the BJP in the southern India. They are not someone who has come in the mid of the way. Having seen that, if the people of that stature think that there is no atmosphere in the party which is said to be democratical, or there is a suffocation in the party, there is no democratic principles left in the party, either for the democracy, the internal democracy, or we can talk about the democracy of the country. If the people are coming out of the party, irrespective of the religion, whether it is Lingayat, Vakkaliga, or be it any religion, the moment they are coming out of the party, that is a warning signal for a party to think and rethink about its future and its strategies and its conduct. If the party thinks that those people are not wise enough, or those people are not worthy enough, or those people have not contributed, having attained the seat of a chief minister, then why did you make a person who is unworthy according to you as a chief minister?
No. The same can be asked. The same can be asked, Sanket Yanagi, of your party. You yourself said these guys have been BJPians. These guys have been BJPians for their life. Why are you then taking them into your party? Does your party not have enough karyakartas to give tickets to? Does your party not have an ideology that you believe in?
Jaka, you raised a very valid question. Let me answer that question in a valid way. Firstly, those who believe in the constitutional principles and the principles of the Congress as one and the same. They are always welcome, irrespective of the political party's affiliation or political party's membership. If the BJP's members think that there is nothing left in the BJP to be said to be democratical, and if they think that there is nothing left to be said, that they are to be termed as the people of democracy, or they can ignore the respect of democracy, and they are ignoring the democracy. If they feel disheartened because the democracy is in danger, if they want to come back to or come to the party which wants to save the democracy of the country or to respect the constitution of the country, we will welcome. And
so let me ask Pratap
only
Kanagal.
consider one aspect.
So Sanket Yanagi is saying that if they believe in basic democracy and one second. Let me also please
one minute.
Let me also please bring in Pratap Kanagal. Please let me.
No,
also
I will not allow you. You have
to. Sir, I am the moderator, sir. What do you mean you will not allow me? I am the moderator.
Allow me to complete.
I'll come back to you. Let Pratap Kanagal come into the debate. Pratap Kanagal, it seems like this election is a two-way affair, either Congress or BJP. Your party, which is the third party and has always been the third party in the Karnataka elections, even within the first family, you are not able to come to a consensus on some critical seats like Hassan, which is, was represented by none less than Mr. Devegowda for a number of years. You are not able to come to a consensus on who the candidate there should be. There's a huge fight that is going on between Mr. Revanna and his brother, Mr. Kumaraswamy. Have you given up on this election? Is this election essentially between the BJP and the Congress? They are the two primary players, and you don't exist on the electoral map.
Let me clarify one thing. It's not the constituency, the Assam constituency. What you are referring is Assam Lok Sabha constituency represented by H.D. Devegowda, but this Assembly constituency, which was it was being because before the election, four times won election by Mr. Prakash, and the ticket, there were two aspirants in that constituency. Which is
Right, Mr. Kanagal, I'm really sorry, but there is some problem with your audio. Let's try and see if we can fix that so that we can hear you clearly. And then I'll come back to you. Let's please fix Mr. Kanagal's audio.
Am I audible?
All right.
I'm audible?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, as I said, that Assam constituency you're referring, it is not Lok Sabha constituency. Mr. Devegowda represented Lok Sabha constituency.
Yeah.
Wherein the seat in question was Assembly constituency, which was represented by Mr. H.S. Prakash, who represented JDS and won the constituency for 4 times. And last time, H.S. Prakash lost the election. But however, this time, that seat, there were 2 aspirants. One is Mrs. Bhavani Revanna, who is the wife of Mr. H.D. Revanna, and Mr. Swarup Prakash, who is the son of former MLA late H.S. Prakash. However, there was because there is a high chances of winning in that constituency, there was a tough competition, and as Mr. H.D. Kumaraswamy promised on the day one, it will be given to the Karyakarta and Mr. Swarup Prakash. We obliged to that, and Mr. H.S. Prakash's son, Mr. H.P. Swarup, is the candidate of the constituency. And for the filing
Mr. Kanagal, the simple point I'm making is, Mr. Kanagal, one second. The simple point I'm making is, the entire narrative, whether it is in local media or in national media, seems to be around these two national parties, Congress and BJP. Your party seems to be a very, very distant third.
No, it's completely wrong. It's because, see, what happens is national media obviously give a preference to national parties because you have audience all across the country, so you focus on those 2 people. There is an undercurrent. There is in last 10 days, whatever the developments happened, there is dozens of people who have joined us for the winnable candidates, and we are confident that we will form the government without any help of these national parties. We will be the king.
Okay, let me go back to Mr. Ashok Gowda of the BJP and to Sanket Yanagi of the Congress. Ashok Gowda, I keep coming back to this point. On the one hand, you said no dynastic politics, and yet Mr. Yediyurappa's son has got ticket, Mr. Umesh Katti's son has got ticket. The whole list, I think about 28, 29 people are related to somebody or the other in the BJP. So, dynastic politics, that was one aspect that got negated. Then you said seniors must not be given tickets. There are some seniors who are on the other side of 70. Mr. Shettar said this in his press conference. At least 2 names he gave out who are on the other side of 70 who've been given a ticket. but those who are yet to be 70, like Mr. Shettar, have been denied a ticket. I mean, what is the principle? You said 52 new faces have been given, and yet at the same time, when your first list came, which is about 150, 160 seats, 180 seats, I think that were declared.
189.
189 seats were declared. Only 9 sitting MLAs have been denied tickets. So I come back to the point. I mean, all of these principles that you seem to have for other states, and the BJP is a national party, and this seems to be a formula for you in other states, you have not applied in Karnataka. Either you are not confident of that same formula applying in Karnataka, or something has gone amiss.
Okay, let me correct the data points with Zaka. First thing is we have given a new faces 72 and we have not denied the tickets for the sitting MLA 17 in number. And that being the case, and as well as the maximum women have been given ticket for the first time in Karnataka, and that also being the case, let's keep that apart. But the principle, what you are saying is like, why did we not follow 70 years, and what is the principle of giving a ticket to the sitting MLA son or sitting MLA's daughter-in-law, somebody like that? That's the question what you are trying to answer, ask. But that is not the dynastic politics. For example, in the case of Arvind Limbavali, his wife was a corporator earlier, and she was associated to the party even before she got married to Arvind Limbavali. Can we call it as just because they have got married and she does not become an ineligible for being given any MLA ticket? And that is just one case. There are so many people. Karadi Sangana's daughter-in-law, she's been working constantly with the party for so many years, and she's more proactive than anybody else in that region. That is a separate issue. Now, what is dynastic politics? What we define it as? Dynastic politics is power centered with one family, like in what happens in Janata Dining Service Party. Janata Dining Service Party, where only
if you
the
call
people who are
Janata
sitting on one
Dining Service Party,
dining
we
table
call
discuss everything. One second. Indian National Congress Party.
How can you call? No, if you can call JDS as a Janata Dining Party, we call
Janata Dining.
Okay, one at a time, one at a time, please. Mr. Gowda, let's refrain from personal attacks. Let's come to the merit of the point. Merit of the point. Ashok Gowda, please. Merit of the point.
If there is a derogatory statement, I would certainly refrain it.
Okay, go ahead.
One second. As well in the same thing with the Congress Party. Who calls the shot? The same Nehru's great grandson is calling the shot. When Nehru
talk about 2023 elections, sir. What about Nehru?
No. 1 second, sir. Just wait on. I did not interpret you. In between, I was not disturbing at all.
No. Let us.
Sanket Janaki, 1 second. Please don't interrupt. Sanket Janaki, please don't interrupt. I'll come to you. Let him finish his point. Ashok Gowda, yeah.
Whether it was Vajpayee, whether it was in Vajpayee's time, L.K. Advani's time, or Narendra Modi's time, or in future any small karyakartas can direct the party in the same way as Vajpayee did or Shyam Prasad Mukherjee did. And that is not dynastic politics, because I'm associated, and yesterday my father was working in BJP party, which that is not the case, not in my case, but anyway, most of the cases. And if I become proactive and if I get a ticket, that is not the dynastic politics.
All right, so Sanket Janaki, respond to it. Is that a critical issue? Because the BJP has made that an issue in other states and it has worked for them. Whereas in Karnataka, I don't know. But I'm coming back to one critical point. A lot of BJP leaders are telling us off record, you seem to think that Congress has this in its bag and so on and so forth. Mr. Modi has not even hit the campaign trail. He will be hitting the campaign trail next week. The tide will turn from next week.
Absolutely
correct. Answer
See,
one by one.
Sanket Janaki, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You may have to allow me to have unbiased discussions. Firstly, what Mr. Modi has been associated with is known to everyone. There are certain issues core issues like corruption, which Mr. Satyapal Malik has made a statement, and Mr. Modi has not made any statement to distance himself from that statement. Now in the Karnataka, there has been a charge of 40% corruption. Mr. Modi has not made any statement to distance himself or from his party, or anyone from the party, like Mr. Amit Shah has made any statement in that regard. Let us understand the important aspects. One, Mr. Patil, Santosh Patil, has committed suicide, alleging 40% commission demand by Mr. Ishwarappa, and he has written a dying declaration which was not discussed by Mr. Amit Shah, Mr. Narendra Modi at this point of time, even till today. These are all the important aspects.
I am completely out of time. I'm sorry, I apologize, but I'm completely out of time. We have to wrap up the show. Thank you very much, Sanket Yanagi, Ashok Gowda, and Mr. Kanagal for joining us. We'll see. It's going to be a fascinating election, this in Karnataka, ramifications beyond just that state, and of course, ramifications in the road to 2024 as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll catch you again Monday night, same time. Good night. All right, before we go, a quick check, a programming note. We have one planet to live in, and it's our responsibility to protect and conserve our Mother Earth. Sustainable is attainable. It's an initiative by Tata Power and News 18 Network. It's been at the forefront of urging people of India to adopt sustainable practices. On the occasion of Earth Day, we bring you a very special film, De Power Ko Green Signal, promoting this year's Earth Day with the theme of Invest in Our Planet. Take a look at this. Thanks for your time.
हमारे गांव में बिजली कब आएगी? अंधेरे में कुछ मिलता ही नहीं है। माँ, मेरे ग्लव्स कहाँ हैं?
वही होगी। आने पोमो चार पे करने कोस लास्ट पुंग से तेज होना दूर तो जाऊँ।
बैकपैक में भर के ख्वाबों का दम, बढ़ते कदम को देके रिदम, थकते फिसलते संभलते बढ़ते चले हम ठंडी हवा से लड़ते। दिल में अगर विश्वास है और आंखों में आस है, तो कैसे ना पूरे हो ये मेरे सपने जो खास है।
जुले यार, आज फिर से लाइट नहीं है। ऐसे में हमारी ट्रेनिंग कैसे होगी यार?
ट्रेनिंग तो जरूर होगी। एकेडमी का लाइट तो सोलर पावर से ऑन हो गया, अब अपनी पावर ऑन करे।
है तेरे साथ सूरज की चमक, तुझे कोई रोक ना पाएगा, मेरे बढ़ते कदम से ही तो कल नया सवेरा आएगा। Come on guys! जो सर्द हवा का शोर है, जाग उठे अंधेरा भी ये तेरा ही तो जोर है। होगी रोशन हर राह, तू चल दे पावर को ग्रीन सिग्नल।
जुड़िए न्यूज 18 नेटवर्क और टाटा पावर के सस्टेनेबल इज अटेनेबल मिशन से और आइए दीजिए पावर को ग्रीन सिग्नल।
Army Chief Manoj Pandey has briefed Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on this attack.
अब ये जो सड़क है, यहाँ से 10 किलोमीटर की दूरी पे जो ये हादसा हुआ था, ये अटैक हुआ था, और यहाँ ये जो एरिया है इसको पूरा बंद कर दिया गया है। ये जो सड़क आप देख रहे हैं, ये सड़क जो है यही पुंछ को कनेक्ट करती है। पुलिस के साथ साथ आर्मी को भी पूरी तरह से मुस्तैद कर दिया गया है। पूरी तरह से यहाँ पे चाक चौबंद में आपको पुलिस दिखेगी। यहाँ पे जो ट्रैफिक है, नॉर्मल ट्रैफिक है, उसको बंद कर दिया गया है। और लेकिन जो मेन फोकस है अब वो है सर्च ऑपरेशंस पर। तो ये एक बड़ा कंसर्न है कि G20 की जो मीटिंग्स होनी है, एक इम्पोर्टेंट मीटिंग अब मई में होने वाली है, वो उसके लिए सिक्योरिटी के क्या बंदोबस्त किए जाए, सिक्योरिटी को किस तरह से बीफ अप किया जाए, ये एक बड़ा ही एक कंसर्न रहेगा। सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस के लिए एक बड़ा चैलेंज सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस के लिए रहेगा। दूसरा मैं आपको बताऊं, जहां तक सिक्योरिटी की बात है, मैं आपको ये एरिया कुछ थोड़ा बहुत दिखाना चाहूंगा, क्योंकि हमें बहुत दूर रोका गया, हमें वहां पे जाने नहीं दिया गया है सिक्योरिटी के रीजन से। लेकिन हम आपको थोड़ा व्यू यहाँ से दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। आप देखिए कितना टेरीन एरिया है ये। आपको अपने विजुअल्स में जो हम दिखाने की कोशिश करेंगे कि पूरे जो यहाँ से आपको सिर्फ पहाड़ और जंगल ही जंगल दिख रहे हैं। और इन्हीं जंगलों का, इन्हीं पहाड़ी इलाकों का और इन्हीं टेरेन इलाकों का, टफ एरियाज का फायदा उठाते हैं आतंकवादी।
Crossing over to our correspondent Akash. Akash, can you give us more details about this incident that took place yesterday in Poonch district?
Right. So, Anjali, you see, this happened at around 3 p.m. Yesterday when we got to know that this terror attack was launched on a vehicle that was on an administrative duty of Indian Army. At this point in time, the information that we have got is that joint operation is on and the whole area has been cordoned off. No one is allowed to enter in that area, and the investigating teams are already there. They are ascertaining several facts, and one such thing is the nature of the attack. You know, some are arguing whether or not it was a grenade attack, because you see, the visuals that emerged after the particular incident showed that how the rear part of the truck was on fire. But still, we don't know as to if grenade attack was launched or not, and this is the reason why officers of Indian Army, in fact, FSL team and several other teams are on ground. They are ascertaining facts. We have lost 5 of our jawan. 1 jawan is critically injured, but the whole focus is now on the search operation. Several teams of Indian Army as well as the police are on the hunt, and they are looking for those people who came and launched this particular attack. This is very unfortunate. We have lost 5 of our jawans, and as you rightly mentioned, Army Chief has basically briefed Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh about the particular incident. In fact, senior officers are very much in touch with the commanders there, and as I mentioned earlier, commanders are on the ground. They are ascertaining the facts, because still we don't know as to they'll launch grenade attack or not, or some other thing was used in this particular attack. But yes, a terror organization has come out and has taken the responsibility of this particular attack. But we'll get to know about the facts of this matter in some time from now, Anjali.
Right, Akash, please stay with us. We also have Ishan Wani with us. Ishan, what is the current situation in Poonch district right now?
The road which goes to that area has been closed. The police has given alternate routes for the people to commute. This indicates that the fact that the and lots go through that area, check the difficult terrain is there. Then there is a bad weather conditions are prevalent, which can give an edge to the other side. That is why they have to be extra vigilant and careful. We must also point out that the fact that when last time, when around this area, which is 1 kilometer away, we are told by our sources, when Army lost more than 5 personnel in that particular attack, once the attack was carried out, Army immediately rushed in additional troops, and those additional troops also came under fire. That is where that is where security forces or Army might not want to go in, launch an attack, but carefully, tactfully use their resources and launch this particular attack, where they could be able to either nab them down or neutralize those militants who are behind this particular attack. As I was pointing out earlier, that there is a large presence or a small presence of these militant outfits in Poonch-Rajouri belt, because they have been on and off carrying out attacks, be it on civilians. Last time we saw Dangri, where multiple people lost their lives. There were IEDs placed inside the houses. And then we also saw before that, as I was pointing out, that there was an attack which took place in the same area, same belt, where more than 6 soldiers lost their lives, including 2 junior commissioned officers. So that is a matter of concern for the security forces, but they have been cracking down on those elements who have been previously involved in such incidents or could still have links with those who are providing them overground support, because OGWs are the people who logistics and daily routine or route, because most of the it's mostly possible that those who are behind this attack could be from outside India, could be from Pakistan, and that is why security forces will be extra vigilant to not only trap them down but also bring down the whole network which is behind this particular attack. The LOC is not far away. We don't yet know whether it's a freshly infiltrated group or it was a group which was operational in that part, because recently when these attacks have taken place, and PAFF was a shadow organization of Jaish and Lashkar combined, have done these attacks and then disappeared. They haven't come out doing
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. This Friday has many newsmakers. the Dalai Lama, who addressed the Global Buddhist Summit hosted by the Government of India today. There's a clear message for China there. We're decoding 3 moves by India using Buddhism to counter China's designs. Then we have Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, and his never-ending list of demands. He wants weapons, NATO membership, EU membership, a summit with Latin America, and a speech at the G20. But the world may be losing patience with him. And since we're talking about newsmakers, how could we not include Elon Musk? He's taken away tick marks and given blues to so many celebrities the world over. His rocket exploded yesterday, his wealth tanked, but he's calling it a good day. Also on Vantage tonight, we bring you the story of Moonbin, the K-pop star who has died and put the spotlight on the dark side of Korea's soft power tool. Why are so many young stars ending their lives? What is Seoul doing to mitigate this crisis? We'll discuss all of that. The headlines first. The Dragon Sea is red. China warns of quote-unquote dangerous consequences for criticism over Taiwan. The warning comes just weeks after China held military exercises around Taiwan. Massive search operations in Jammu and Kashmir in India after Thursday's terror attack. 5 soldiers were killed in Poonch after terrorists targeted their military vehicle. This comes just days before the Pakistan Foreign Minister's visit to India for the SCO summit. A bill seeking to curtail the powers of Pakistan's Chief Justice has become the law. This is despite a Supreme Court order halting its implementation. The UK's Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab has stepped down. He's a close aide of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and accused of bullying staff members. His resignation comes less than 24 hours after a probe report into the bullying allegations. And Germany plans to ban new oil and gas heating systems from next year. This is to meet net zero emission targets. And it has divided the cabinet. About half of Germany's 41 million households currently use natural gas heating. Day 2 of the first Global Buddhist Summit. Yesterday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke at the event. Today, it was the turn of the Dalai Lama. First, there was speculation on whether he'll attend. Then there was no confirmation on whether he'd speak. Today, he did both. And the Dalai Lama did not hold back. He used the platform to raise the issue of Tibet in New Delhi. And with this, India has made a bold move by giving a platform to the Tibetan leader to talk about Tibet. India has shown that it remains committed to the Tibetan cause. It is exerting pressure on China through Buddhism. India is leveraging its historical and cultural ties and using its deep-rooted connections to Buddhism. The goal is to build pressure on Beijing. And India has made 3 decisive moves: owning its Buddhist legacy, using it as an instrument of diplomacy, and turning India into the hub of Buddhist faith. Tonight, we'll talk about all of them. The first move obviously entails hosting the Global Buddhist Summit. We talked about it yesterday. India is hosting this event for the first time. More than 170 prominent monks, scholars, and practitioners from 30 countries are attending. And today, the Dalai Lama addressed them. He spoke for about 30 minutes about Buddhist philosophy and values. And in the course of the address, he brought up Tibet. He shared how Buddhist teachings give him courage to face Tibet's struggle. I have that statement with me. Listen to what he said, and I'm quoting. For example, in the case of my dealing with the current struggle and situation of Tibet, if you just think only about it from a narrow angle, you can lose your hope. But if you look at this crisis, this current situation, from the broader perspective of the courage that the cultivation of bodhicitta, or mind of awakening, and compassion give you, then you have a much more resilient mind. So what he said was very significant. He's talking about Tibet in the Indian capital. What's even more significant is his mere presence. All of it sends a message to Beijing, because China calls the Dalai Lama a separatist. It wants India to deny him any platform. And yet India resisted the pressure to host the Dalai Lama at this summit. And remember, this is a government event. So India is owning up its Buddhist legacy and using it to expand its influence. That's move number 2. India is engaging with monks and scholars worldwide. Earlier this week, India hosted another event, another Buddhist conference. This was in the northeast, in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. the same state which China calls South Tibet. India hosted some 600 Buddhist monks in Arunachal Pradesh. Politicians from the ruling party, the BJP, also attended. The event was held in a place called Zemitang. Now, Zemitang has great historical significance for Buddhists. In the year 1959, when the Dalai Lama fled Tibet, his first stop in India was in Zemitang. And of course, the whole of Arunachal Pradesh is significant because it's part of the India-China border dispute. China claims almost the entire state. And this claim has no legal or historical basis. But Beijing keeps pushing. Earlier this month, it renamed 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh. Beijing gave them Chinese names, and India pushed back. First with a statement that said Arunachal Pradesh is an inalienable part of India, and then with a Buddhist event in Zemitang. And it serves two purposes. It helps India engage with Buddhist leaders the world over and also assert India's sovereign rights on Arunachal Pradesh. This was India's second move. The third move is turning India into a hub for Buddhism. We discussed this yesterday. We told you about the Buddhist circuit. It follows the path of the Buddha. Starting from Lumbini, Nepal, it covers 21 Indian states. The idea is to turn India into a hub for religious tourism. There are plans to restore ancient Buddhist sites, set up funding for studying Buddhism, and restore sacred Buddhist texts. Last year, India restored 108 volumes of Buddhist texts. These were sacred writings of Mongolian Buddhism. The texts were sent to 50 Buddhist monasteries and educational institutions. So basically, it's a multi-pronged approach to reclaim Buddhism. It will help position India as a force that is trying to save Buddhism and countering China's moves. Because in recent years, China has tried to take that spot. It's an atheist country that tries to use faith to achieve political goals. It wants to appoint the next Dalai Lama and quash the Tibetan movement. In the name of sinicizing Tibet, China is ending the freedoms of Tibetans. It is killing their tradition, their culture, and their way of life. At the same time, it has been hosting Buddhist conferences and events, trying to gain influence over Buddhists, trying to get them on board, so that when the time comes, they see China's choice as the legitimate successor of the Dalai Lama. China basically wants to dictate the future of Buddhism, and India is pushing back. Further north, the war in Ukraine is spilling over. It has reached Russia, but not in a way that Moscow would have imagined. Russia ended up bombing its own city today. A Russian jet was flying near the Ukrainian border. It dropped bombs over Belgorod, which is a Russian city, and this is how it happened. Here is the aftermath. It was an accident. The Russian fighter dropped a bomb by mistake. 2 people were injured, 4 apartments and some cars were damaged. How did this happen? It's not quite clear yet. Russia has released limited information. It said the bomb dropped from a Sukhoi Su-34. It was flying over Belgorod. The bomb was accidentally fired. Here's what the city's governor said.
3 people have been injured. 1 person refused to be taken to the hospital. 1 resident was diagnosed with a closed head injury and concussion. Their life is not in danger. They're receiving all the help they need. 1 elderly woman felt bad. Her blood pressure went up and she was hospitalized. The medics are now looking after her. Thank God there are no dead.
Belgorod is vulnerable. Since the war began in 2022, this region has seen several explosions and bombings. And the latest incident might have been an accident. But in the past, there have been targeted attacks, reportedly carried out by Ukraine. Just this week, a village in Belgorod was hit. It was a drone attack. The targets were local thermal power plants. Small bombs were dropped on them through drones. Did Ukraine do it? Here's an official statement from Kiev, and I'm quoting, "We will not confirm or deny Ukraine's involvement. I think that Russians should get used to the fact that while they are waging an unjust war of aggression, there are no safe places on their territory." So this attack was basically a threat. If Russia wages war, its own territories are not safe either. That's what they're saying. Meanwhile, Zelensky continues to make demands. He wants a NATO membership, and the NATO chief was in Kiev, his first visit since the war began. He offered support. But Zelensky wants more. He wants a clear path for Ukraine's membership.
The NATO summit in Vilnius can become historic. I'm grateful for the invitation to visit the summit, but it is important that Ukraine receives an appropriate invitation. There is no objective obstacle that would prevent the adoption of political decisions on the invitation of Ukraine to the alliance.
So Zelensky will attend the NATO summit in July. Will he get the membership? The NATO chief made no such promise.
So all NATO allies have agreed that Ukraine will become a member. President Zelensky has a very clear expectation. We discussed this, both the issue of membership but also security guarantees. And of course, Ukraine needs security because no one can tell when and how this war ends. But what we do know is that when the war ends, we need to ensure that history doesn't repeat itself.
Let me decode that for you. As long as the war continues, Ukraine's membership bid will be stuck in a limbo. So that's one demand that won't be met in a hurry, if at all. Though Zelensky's list is a long one, he also wants long-range weapons, jets and ammunition. What for? Apparently, they're planning a counter-offensive to reclaim lost territory. So they want firepower for two things: to hold off fresh advances from Russia and to reclaim what they've lost in the past. Again, will this wish be granted? NATO held a meeting today at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany. And what did they decide? Listen to this.
Together, we will make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to live in freedom. Together, we will defend the rules-based international order that keeps us all secure. And together, we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes.
For as long as it takes, he says, which makes for a good speech. But is America really prepared for another forever war? Where would it draw the line, given the fact that Zelensky's wish list is never ending? You know what else he wants? A summit with Latin America. And for this, he's reached out to Mexico. Again, how does a summit with Latin America help him? Zelensky says it will be a chance for the region to, quote-unquote, show unity, to come together for principles like territorial